Hey everyone, welcome back to another Mattel Jurassic World review. Today we're taking a look at the new Camp Cretaceous Dino Escape Roar Attack Allosaurus. This Allosaurus is part of Wave 2 of the Roar Attacks. I ended up getting it off of Amazon. It retails for just under $15, and I'll leave a link to that Amazon listing down below in the description. Allosaurus is kind of an odd figure in the Mattel Jurassic World line. We've only gotten 3 of them so far. The first one was in Fallen Kingdom. Then we got one in Dino Rivals. We actually, surprisingly, did not get one in Primal Attack. Now we have this new one in Dino Escape. And the weird thing is, Allosaurus has never truly received a new mold. They've all shared parts or had slight retooling among all the previous releases. And the same can be said about this new Dino Escape one. But we'll go over all that a little bit later on with comparisons. So let's just go over the packaging really quick before we crack this Allo open. Comes in the new Roar Attack style packaging, which is pretty much the same as the Roar Vores. And Sound Strikes, we got the Camp Cretaceous logo up here. Toro the Carnotaurus. Darius, the new Dino Escape logo, the Smash Paddock fence in the background, and then spinning the box around. You get a picture of how the Allosaurus works with the new Roar Attack feature. And then down here in the corner are the other figures available in Wave 2, the previously reviewed Ouranosaurus, and then we have the new Baryonyx. Like I said in the Ouranosaurus review, I'm not picking up this Baryonyx because I already got the one from Fallen Kingdom, and it's pretty much similar, and I really just don't need another one. So that will do it for the packaging. Let's crack this Allosaurus open and take a closer look. But before we get started, we just have to attach the tail. You can see there's a hole right here, and you just need to peg the tail in, and it will click in for a one-time assembly. Once you get in, it will not come out. Alright, let's start with a nice 360-degree view of this figure. This figure is much more stable than the Battle at Big Rock Allosaurus. We all know that figure was plagued by a horrible QC issue that the figure just kept falling over no matter what you did. The legs were very loose on it. If you just looked at it wrong, it fell over. This one is just as stable as the Fallen Kingdom counterpart. And as you can tell by looking at the figure, it shares a lot of parts with the Battle of Big Rock and the Fallen Kingdom. Almost everything on this thing is just shared parts or a slight retool. The only thing I can tell that is brand new on here is the lower jaw. That is completely a new sculpt. Everything else, like I said, is just a retool or just the same parts that we've seen on the other Allosaurs. And as far as the paint scheme goes, I've seen a lot of people online get this figure in and say that they love the paint job, they think it looks great. To me, it looks awful. You know, Dino Escape's been really, really up and down with their paint schemes, and this one just is another lazy, uninspired Mattel paint job. It looks like someone just got 2 paintbrushes with white and red paint and just kind of shook it around the figure and called it a day. I just don't know why people are saying it's a great paint job. I guess among the Allosaur figures in the line, it is a good paint job, but, you know, those paint jobs on the other 2 figures really aren't that great, and I really wish Mattel would just get their act together and give these figures better paint jobs. It would make them look so much better, and I don't know what is up with them not wanting to paint the back half of their figures. Some figures have a little bit of paint, you know, along the back half and extend on the tail, but a majority of them don't, and it just looks really weird and lazy. And let's talk about those white arms. What were they thinking on that one? It's just so jarring and abrupt going from the green to that white plastic for the arms. I guess they want to break up all that green, and, you know, the outcome really isn't that great. I wish they maybe gave like some green paint on that arms and have it slowly transition to that white, but that is not the case. The action feature button, you know, I am not a big fan of that slider button. I have to say on this Allosaurus, because the button is painted and it kind of blends in with the back, is not bothering me as much as it is on other figures, so I guess that is a slight plus. I do like the bright red eyes on this figure. You know, it shares a lot of characteristics with the Fallen Kingdom and Battle of Big Rock one. I do like Allosaurus, so it's nice to have another one in the line, but the execution could have been much, much better. Alright, let's just do a couple quick measurements. This figure, if you measure along the curve of the tail, is just about 14 inches long and about 4¼ inches tall to the top of that head crest. So Allosaurus in real life is around 31 to 39 feet long, so I'll put this figure somewhere in the 126 to the 133 scale range. Alright, let's zoom and take a look at some of the finer details on this figure, starting with the head. The head is very similar to the Battle at Big Rock Allosaurus sculpt. It shares a lot of the same details. It is slightly retooled. It's a little bit wider to allow this lower jaw to go flush with the mouth. The lower jaw is a completely new mold, and you can see the teeth are not hilariously oversized like they were on the Fallen Kingdom version. You can see the eyes painted in yellow. The pupil is just the base green of the plastic. Every time I talk about the pupils, I always think that's very lazy at Mattel's part not to paint the pupil on the figure. I really wish there was some color added to the crest. You do have a little splash of red on there, and if you look at the figure from the top, you do have a little bit of red splashed around the crest, but it would be really nice if the crest was actually highlighted. And then along the face, you have all this, really lazy and uninspired white paint along the side. The teeth are painted in off-white color. They're not the best painted teeth. You can see they missed a couple spots right here. And then opening the mouth, you can see that let's try to get my light on that. The tongue does have some nice texture and detail on there. And then look at the roof of the mouth. It is colored in pink plastic. And then going down to the neck, you just have all this red and white paint mixing together. Like I said, this looks like someone just got a paintbrush and just shook it near it and called it a day and just turned it into Mattel. And Mattel's like, yes, we will use this color scheme to make this figure. The spikes are done in white plastic. You do have some nice fine scale detail all over the face and lower jaw. And then going down to the arms, these are the same exact arms that we've seen on the other two Allosaurus figures. They are cast in this white plastic. Like I say, I think it looks absolutely terrible. I wish there was a little bit of green paint to transition the arms to going into the white. I do like the idea of white arms, but you need a little bit of green to transition that so it doesn't look so abrupt. The hand claws are not painted, which is pretty typical of Mattel. And then going down to the body is pretty much the same as the Dino Rivals and the Fallen Kingdom. Like I said, is a slight retool, to incorporate the slider button up here. You can see that it is painted in there, so it's not as jarring as some of the other figures in the line, but I still don't like it. And then you can see the white ends right here, and then the spikes just turn into green, and then the rest of the figure is just the boring green base plastic, no color to the tip of the tail, so it makes the figure look really, really plain. I just wish, if they're gonna go with this terrible paint job, at least continue a little bit further down the body. And then going to the hind legs, these are the exact same legs that we've seen on the previous two Allosaurus. The toe claws are not painted in. And since we're looking at the legs, let's turn it over so those of you can see the scan code for the fax app. And then underneath you can see the speaker box for the electronics and the battery cover. You do have a little bit of white paint for underneath the throat. And then going down to the hilariously short tail, it does have a little bit of a bend in it because it's a retooled tail of the Battle at Big Rock version. Since the tails come unattached in the packages for the Roar Attacks, it'd be nice if Mattel made them a little bit bigger and longer to make them look more proportionate with the figures since they're not attached. I understand they have box constraints, but since the figure's not, the tail's not coming attached, just make it a little bit longer. And you can see it's pretty much exactly the same tail as the Battle of Big Rock one. It's just retooled a little bit to fit into this joint instead of just having that rotation. And here's the figure from the other side. You can see all the similarities between the previous Allosaurus molds. So let's zoom out a little bit and then move on with articulation. For articulation, the arms can move 360 degrees. They are on a hinge that allows them to swing out. And you can see that the head of this Allosaurus is just a little bit wider than the Battle at Big Rock version. And then going down to the hind legs, they do have that pivot that most of the larger figures have. The legs can move backwards and forwards, and there's a little locking mechanism for when it gets to the neutral position. Much more secure fit than the Battle at Big Rock version. Those legs are really loose and that figure could barely stand. And then going down to the tail, this is the first Allosaurus that actually has a ball jointed tail. It can go up, it can go down, it can go side to side, and you can rotate it 360 degrees. So the rest of the articulation is tied to its action feature. To activate the action feature, you just need to slide this slider button up here. It has 3 different locking positions. Here's the first position. You can see the mouth opens up a very, very tiny bit. It is nice to actually have an Allosaurus with the mouth closed. That is most welcome. Here's position 2. Big jump in how wide the mouth opens. And position 3. And you get 3 different roars by doing that. So yeah, that first lock-in position is kind of pointless because it barely opens the mouth. But I do like the fact that this Allosaurus can be displayed with its mouth closed. That is a plus in my book. All right, moving on. With comparisons. First up, here it is. One of the human figures. Here it is with Kenji. And here it is with the previously reviewed Chialingosaurus. And next up, here it is with the adult Bumpy. And here it is with its wave mate, the Tyrannosaurus. Let's get them both in the frame. And you can see that Mattel is really loving the green color for Dino Escapes. So many green dinosaurs. It's making me sick. And lastly, here it is with the other 2 Allosaurs available in the line. And you can see the similarities between them. This head is a retool of the head on the Battle at Big Rock. Same thing with the body. The neck is a little bit longer and straighter, so it's a slight retool to incorporate this button, but it has the same spikes. The arms and the legs are exactly the same between the 3 figures, and the tail is a slight retool of the tail on the Battle at Big Rock Allosaurus. And you may be wondering, why is my Battle at Big Rock Allosaurus standing up since everyone else's isn't? That's because the tail is resting up against that log in the background. So let me put it in its proper position. That's probably how 90% of these are displayed, because that figure cannot stand to save its life. So final thoughts on this new Allosaurus. It's an okay figure. For positives, I like how it can be displayed with its mouth closed. It's a much more stable figure than the craptastic Battle at Big Rock version. It has the superior head sculpt because it shares the same, almost the same head as that Battle at Big Rock version. And that is it for positives. I think the paint scheme is one of the laziest I've seen in Dino Escape. It's just, Allosaurus deserves so much better. If you missed out on the Dino Rivals Allosaurus, good news. This mold is going to get a straight repaint to have those Battle at Big Rock colors, which will make it a first that this Allosaurus is actually going to see a straight up repaint and not a slight remold retool. And I'm just not a fan of those straight white arms. Needed a little bit of paint on them. Like I said, I know some people are praising this thing because they like the paint scheme. I mean, I guess compared to the other 2, it is far superior, but, you know, stacked up against everything else, it really isn't that great. Like I said at the beginning of the review, I got this figure off of Amazon. I'll leave a link to that Amazon listing down below in the description. So that will do it for the review. I still have a couple more Jurassic World figures to review. I got the San Diego Comic-Con Rayando set, came in the other day. I'm in the middle of working on that review. I should have the Apatosaurus in a couple more days, and I hopefully should have some early production samples of Wave 3 of the Beast of Mesozoic Ceratopsy to review. Those should be coming in sometime soon. And as always, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously, and it's greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys for the next one.